So I know I did a video on this guy before, but I want to do another one because I've learned more and new stuff. Instead of asking so many questions, now I have some answers. So here's kanishka, and let's go right into it.
Kanishka the First, Sanskrit, Kaniska, Greco-Bactrian, Kaneski, Karasthi, Kaniska. 4. Brahmi, Kaniska, or Kanishka, was an emperor of the Kushan dynasty, under whose reign, circa 127 to 150 CE, the empire reached its zenith. 5. He is famous for his military, political, and spiritual achievements. A descendant of Kujula Kadphises, founder of the Kushan Empire, Kanishka came to rule an empire, extending from Central Asia and Gandhara to Pataliputra on the Gangetic Plain. The main capital of his empire was located at Purusapura, Peshawar, in Gandhara, with another major capital at Mathura. Coins of Kanishka were found in Tripuri, present-day Jabalpur. 6.
They all like to use that title, King of Kings, don't they? So, here we go. Come on.
His conquests and patronage of Buddhism played an important role in the development of the Silk Road, and in the transmission of Mahayana Buddhism from Gandhara across the Karakoram range to China. Around 127 CE, he replaced Greek with Bactrian as the official language of administration in the empire. 7. Earlier scholars believed that Kanishka ascended the Kushan throne in 78 CE, and that this date was used as the beginning of the Saka calendar era. However, historians no longer regard this date as that of Kanishka's accession. Falk estimates that Kanishka came to the throne in 127 CE. 8.
So his conquest and was his conquest and patronage of Buddhism played an important role in the development of the Silk Road. Why? If the Buddhas were in India, what importance would it be to him to conquer Buddhism or the Buddhas, right? Then I found, oh no, it was about a caste system that he put in place, right? See, I'd heard about this through Anthony L. Elmore. And, I listened to it and I thought, oh, that's interesting, blah, blah, blah. But actually, I actually sat down and started looking at this because when I seen H-A-Y-A, Mahayana, I was like, oh, that name looks familiar, right? Then I found out that Mahayana Buddhism is Kanishka's Buddhism. This is not the Buddhism that the Buddhists practiced. This is what he took from them, took back to Afghanistan. With his Greeks companions, they rewrote it and put the M-A in front of it. If you try to find Mahayana Buddhism literature, it is hard, right? All they want to promote is what this man gave you and what the Greeks gave you. Why is that? Watch this. We'll get to it, all right? Let's see. Well, yeah, that's just about his outfit. Here he is. Here he is. This is what I wanted to get to. His people. Because I didn't realize this before, but when Lex started going over, was it the Gobi Desert? Right? I think it's the Gobi Desert. These people were brought up as people that were in war over there.
He was of Yuezhi ethnicity and his native language was probably Tocharian. 12. Kanishka was the successor of Vima Kadphises, as demonstrated by an impressive genealogy of the Kushan kings. Known as the Robotic inscription. 13. 14. The connection of Kanishka with other Kushan rulers is described in the Robotic inscription as Kanishka makes the list of the kings who ruled up to his time. Kujula Kadphises as his great-grandfather, Vima Takhtu as his grandfather, Vima Kadphises as his father, and himself Kanishka. For King Kujula Kadphises, his great-grandfather. And for King Vima Takhtu, his grandfather, and for King Vima Kadphises, his father, an asterisk also for himself, King Kanishka, 15.
That's, I think, let's do this right here, because I think that's just about it I want to use from this. Yeah. I might be going too far. Ooh.
Kanishka's reputation in Buddhist tradition regarded with utmost importance as he not only believed in Buddhism but also encouraged its teachings as well. As a proof of it, he administered the Fourth Buddhist Council in Kashmir as the head of the council. It was presided by Vasumitra and Ashwagosha. Images of the Buddha based on 32 physical signs were made during his time. He encouraged both Gandhara school of Greco-Buddhist art and the Mathura school of art. An inescapable religious syncretism pervades Kushana rule. Kanishka personally seems to have embraced both Buddhism and the Persian attributes, but he favored Buddhism more as it can be proven by his devotion to the Buddhist teachings and prayer styles. Depicted in various books
So what he did was he gave you a whitewashed version of Buddhism, right? Because if you have war generals in the time of Godfrey Higgins telling you, oh, the Buddhists were thick-lipped, curly-haired, big-nosed people, then who are all these images of these people who are the opposite, I'll just say, drawing during his time? Why did, when you start to find out that they keep pushing Sanskrit as the language of the Buddha, but in Hinayana Buddhism, the writing is in what was it? Pili or Pile. You got to ask yourself, why was it replaced? Why is it given Sanskrit as Sanskrit some ancient language when it's not? Oh no, Sanskrit is new, and let's see if I can find the information that proves that again. So yeah, I got the book, the Anecliptic volume. I think I got volume 2.
Proven by his devotion to the Buddhist teachings and prayer styles depicted in various books related to Kushan Empire. His greatest contribution to Buddhist architecture was the Kanishka Stupa at Purushapura, modern-day Peshawar. Archaeologists who rediscovered the base of it in 1908-1909 estimated that this stupa had a diameter of 286 feet, 87 meters. Reports of Chinese pilgrims such as Xuanzang indicate that its height was 600 to 700 Chinese feet, equals roughly 180 to 210 meters or 591 to 689 feet, and was covered with jewels. 25. Certainly this immense, multi-storied building ranks among the wonders of the ancient world. Kanishka is said to have been particularly close to the Buddhist scholar Ashwagosha, who became his religious advisor in his later years.
See, because if you go into Mahayana Buddhism, they have a caste system in there. where the dark-skinned people are your unwanted. That's what they call them, the unwanted. And the light-skinned people are the image of sainthood. They are the people that are acceptable. Watch this.
The Buddhist coins of Kanishka are comparatively rare, well under 1% of all known coins of Kanishka. Several show Kanishka on the obverse and the Buddha standing on the reverse. A few also show the Shakyamuni Buddha and Maitreya. Like all coins of Kanishka, the design is rather rough and proportions tend to be imprecise. The image of the Buddha is often slightly overdone, with oversized ears and feet spread apart in the same fashion as the Kushan king. 3 types of Kanishka's Buddhist coins are known.
Yeah, I think that's all I want to use from here, because I'm getting off. I want to get to his people.
The Yuezhi, Chinese, Yushi, Pinyin, Yuezhi, Ruji or Ruji, Wade Giles, U4 Chi 1. Ju 4 Chi 1 or Ju 4 Chi 1 winking face, were an ancient people first described in Chinese histories as nomadic pastoralists living in an arid grassland area in the western part of the modern Chinese province of Gansu. During the first millennium BC, after a major defeat at the hands of the Xiongnu in 176 BC, the Yuezhi split into 2 groups migrating in different directions. The Greater Yuezhi, Da Yuezhi Da Yushi, and Lesser Yuezhi, Shao Yuezhi Shao Yushi. This would start a complex domino effect that would radiate in all directions and, in the process, set the course of history for much of Asia for centuries to come. 12. The Greater Yuezhi initially migrated northwest into the Ili Valley, on the modern borders of China and Kazakhstan, where they reportedly displaced elements of the Sakas. They were driven from the Ili Valley by the Wusun and migrated southward to Sogdia and later settled in Bactria.
So, Bactria, right? That's what? Oh, let's tell you right there. It's a Greco. It's a Greek city. See, because I was always confused. How did the King Kanishka lead an army but have the Greeks as his guides into India?
The Greater Yuezhi have consequently often been identified with peoples mentioned in classical European sources as having overrun the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, like the Tocharioi, Greek Tocharioi, Sanskrit Tukara, and Asi, or Asioi. During the 1st century BC, one of the 5 major Greater Yuezhi tribes in Bactria, the Kushanas, Chinese, Gui Shuang, Pinyin, Gui Shuang, began to subsume the other tribes and neighboring peoples. The subsequent Kushan Empire, at its peak in the 3rd century AD, stretched from Turfan in the Tarim Basin in the north to Pataliputra on the Gangetic Plain of India in the south. The Kushanas played an important role in the development of trade on the Silk Road and the introduction of Buddhism to China.
See? So what I'm taking from this is that these people Hellenized the people they captured, wherever they were, when they were kicked out of China for losing the war. They might have been the ones that we read about that were on the steppes of Asia, living in the plains land and in the valleys, right? And this is supposed to be the reason why the Chinese built the Great Wall of China, to keep them from coming back in. Now, they go and take over Greek cities, right, that are in these areas. And now they are replacing or subjugating the people in this land. And then when they go out and go conquer another place, they're bringing their systems of belief with them, their Hellenistic ways. See, So what is this map saying? They were here and they were forced to go here and they ended up there in Bactria, and they took over China, or took over northern India. So, and look, these are all the religions they practice, and that's what they were saying that they practiced. Was it the Persian religion, that Zoroastrianism? That's not the Persians. The Persians were the descendants of Abraham. Arthur showed me that through, was it Abraham's, his wife after Sarah.
The Lesser Yuezhi migrated southward to the edge of the Tibetan Plateau. Some are reported to have settled among the Chang people in Qinghai, and to have been involved in the Liang Province Rebellion, 184 to 221 AD, against the Eastern Han Dynasty. Another group of Yuezhi is said to have founded the city-state of Qumuda, now known as Kumal and Hami, in the eastern Tarim. A fourth group of Lesser Yuezhi may have become part of the Jia people of Shaanxi, who established the later Zhao state of the 4th century AD, although this remains controversial.
And I just remember this. The description of, and I'll see, I gotta see if I can find it again, but the description of what's his name, this king, Kanishka, was supposed to be, he was a redhead, freckled man. So it always blew my mind that this is who was kicked out of China, and his people were supposed to have set up shop in Afghanistan, and from there controlled the Silk Road. I believe that was the BBC. That's where I learned about the description, because no one else seems to want to give it what he looked like. And there we go. That's what I wanted.
The next mention of the Yuezhi in Chinese sources is found in chapter 96a of the Book of Han, completed in AD 111, relating to the early 1st century BC. At this time, the Yuezhi are described as occupying the whole of Bactria, organized into 5 major tribes or Zaihao, ch. Shi Hu, allied prince, 50. These tribes were known to the Chinese as Shu Mi, in western Wakhan and Zabak, Gui Shuang, in Badakhshan and adjoining territories north of the Oxus. Shuang Mi, in the region of Shunan or Chitral. 51. Zaidan, Shi Dun, in the region of Balkh, and Do Mi, in the region of Termez. 52. The Book of the Later Han, 5th century CE, also records the visit of Yuezhi envoys to the Chinese capital in 2 BC, who gave oral teachings on Buddhist sutras to a student, suggesting that some Yuezhi already followed the Buddhist faith during the 1st century BC, Baldev Kumar 1973.
So, I wonder what because that sounded familiar, didn't it? Zaidan. That sounded really familiar. Like Sidon. Let's see.
Later Chinese annotation in Zhang Shouji's Shiji, quoting Wan Zhen in Nanzhouji, Strange Things from the Southern Region, a now lost 3rd century text from the Wu Kingdom, describes the Kushans as living in the same general area north of India, in cities of Greco-Roman style, and with sophisticated handicraft. The quotes are dubious. as Wan Zhen probably never visited the Yuezhi kingdom through the Silk Road. Though he might have gathered his information from the trading ports in the coastal south. 56. Chinese sources continue to use the name Yuezhi and seldom use the Kushan, or Guishuang, as a generic term.
Yeah, so that's the part I still don't understand, how they picked up the name. What's the thing there? Kushan, because Kushan is supposed to be what, one of the children of Noah's grandchildren.
The Great Yuezhi are located about 7,000 li, 2,910 kilometers, north of India. Their land is at a high altitude, the climate is dry, the region is remote. The king of the state calls himself, Son of Heaven. There are so many riding horses in that country that the number often reaches several 100,000. City layouts and palaces are quite similar to those of Dachin, the Roman Empire. The skin of the people there is reddish-white. People are skillful at horse archery. Local products, rarities, treasures, clothing, and upholstery are very good, and even India cannot compare with it. Wan Zhen, 3rd century AD, 57. The Central Asian people who called themselves Kushana, who were among the conquerors of the Greco-Bactrian kingdom during the 2nd century BC, 61, are widely believed to have originated as a dynastic clan or tribe of the Yuezhi. 62, 63, the area of Bactria they settled came to be known as Tokaristan. Because some inhabitants of Bactria became known as Tukara, Sanskrit, or Tokaroi, Tocharioi, Greek, these names later became associated with the Yuezhi. The Kushana spoke Bactrian, an Eastern Iranian language. 64.
See, look at that. They came to be known as Tukana, Sanskrit. And I think we'll stop after this.
In the 3rd century BC, Bactria had been conquered by the Greeks under Alexander the Great and since settled by the Hellenistic civilization of the Seleucids. The resulting Greco-Bactrian kingdom lasted until the 2nd century BC. The area came under pressure from various nomadic peoples and the Greek city of Alexandria on the Oxus was apparently burnt to the ground in about 145 BC, 65. The last Greco-Bactrian king, Heliocles I, retreated and moved his capital to the Kabul Valley. In about 140 to 130 BC, the Greco-Bactrian state was conquered by the nomads and dissolved. The Greek geographer Strabo mentions this event in his account of the Central Asian tribes he called Scythians. 66.
See, I want to stop with Scythians. We know who they are.